She was just a poor cleaner, scrubbing floors nobody cared about. Until one fateful day, she literally fell into the arms of a billionaire CEO. But what happened when she bravely took the man to her humble parents would shatter every heart and leave the world wondering, would her family accept a man from a world she had only dreamed of? And what secrets was the billionaire hiding beneath his perfectly tailored suits and cold, untouchable smile? Could love survive when poverty and privilege collide? Or would their worlds tear them apart before they even truly began? The clang of the metal bucket against the tiled floor echoed through the silent office building, a rhythm that felt as endless as Emily's days. She knelt on the cold floor, scrubbing the stubborn stains that no one else noticed, no one else cared about. Her fingers were raw, her uniform faded, and yet she worked with a quiet dignity that had become her armor. Cleaning was all she knew, all she could afford, and it was the only way to keep her small apartment above the cramped alleyways she had grown up in. But today felt different. There was an unfamiliar energy in the air, a tension she couldn't name that made the fluorescent lights above flicker as if they knew something was about to change. Emily didn't notice the faint rumble of luxury tires outside the building until the glass doors slid open with a crisp whoosh. And then she saw him. He stepped in like a man who owned not just the building but the world itself. Tall, impeccably dressed, with a sharp jawline that seemed carved from marble, the billionaire CEO, Nathaniel Hart, exuded power and control. But it wasn't just his stature that caught Emily's attention. It was the brief flicker of vulnerability in his eyes as he surveyed the empty office. He looked lost, almost human for a fleeting second, and that was the moment Emily's heart betrayed her. Her mop slipped in her hands, and she stumbled forward. In an instant, strong arms caught her, steadying her against his chest. "Careful," he murmured, his voice deep and commanding, yet strangely gentle. The contact was brief, electric, and left Emily trembling, not from fear but from an unexplainable spark she couldn't ignore. I'm fine," she stammered, pulling back, but Nathaniel's gaze held her, curious and intense. He looked at her as if he could see through the grime on her hands and the humble uniform she wore into the core of who she was. Her struggles, her resilience, the quiet fire she kept buried. "You're Emily, right?" he asked suddenly, and Emily froze. How did he know her name? You know my name?" she whispered, fear and astonishment mingling in her chest. Nathaniel smiled faintly, a smile that didn't quite reach the hardness of his features. "I've seen you here before. You work hard, harder than anyone else in this building. I wanted to see who you really are." Emily blinked, confused, her mind racing. Why would a billionaire CEO care about a poor cleaner like her? It didn't make sense. And yet something about the way he looked at her made her heart ache with a strange mixture of hope and dread. That night, she couldn't sleep. She replayed the moment over and over, the way he had caught her, the faint smile, the intensity of his gaze. She had lived her life in shadows, unnoticed, invisible, but now for the first time someone had seen her. Not just her work, not just her uniform, but her. The next day she made a decision that would change everything. She invited Nathaniel to her small apartment, the one she shared with her parents. It was modest, peeling paint, rickety furniture, a home held together by love rather than wealth, but it was hers. And she wanted him to see the life she had fought so hard to survive. When Nathaniel arrived, stepping from a sleek black car that gleamed under the morning sun, Emily's parents froze. They were simple people, proud yet wary, and the sight of a man dressed in expensive silk and leather shoes standing in their tiny living room was like a scene from another world. "Mom, Dad, this is Nathaniel," Emily said, her voice trembling. He's someone important in my life." Her father's brow furrowed and her mother's lips pressed into a thin line. But Nathaniel's smile was calm, unthreatening, almost tender. He bowed slightly, acknowledging them with respect. "It's an honor to meet you," he said, his voice carrying a warmth Emily hadn't expected from a man of his status. And yet, Emily could feel the tension prickling in the air, a silent question hovering over them all. Would her family accept him? Could someone from his world truly belong in hers? Or would the collision of wealth and poverty, of worlds so vastly different, shatter everything before it even began? As the afternoon wore on, secrets began to stir. Nathaniel's carefully guarded past, Emily's hidden scars, the unspoken dreams they both had tried to bury. And somewhere deep inside, Emily sensed a truth she couldn't ignore. Falling into the arms of a billionaire CEO was only the beginning. What came next would break hearts, test loyalty, and challenge the fragile line between love and despair. And the question that loomed over them all, heavier than any doubt or fear, whispered like a shadow in the room. Could love survive when poverty meets privilege? Or would their worlds tear them apart before they even had a chance to truly begin? Emily couldn't sleep that night. The faint hum of the city outside her apartment window felt louder than usual, echoing the whirlwind inside her chest. Nathaniel's visit had left her parents silent and withdrawn, each glance heavy with unspoken judgment. Her father, once warm and talkative, had barely looked at her. Her mother had busied herself in the kitchen, pretending to wash dishes but clearly struggling to maintain composure. Emily's heart ached. She had hoped the man she had fallen into, the billionaire CEO whose hands had steadied her in a moment of clumsiness, could somehow bridge the gap between her world and theirs. But now doubt gnawed at her. Flashbacks haunted her as she lay on the thin mattress. She remembered the day she had left school at 16, the day her father had told her she needed to contribute to the household. Her dreams of studying art, of painting murals and creating something beautiful had been crushed under the weight of survival. She had learned to clean, to scrub away other people's messes while quietly storing away her own dreams in a dusty corner of her heart. Nathaniel, on the other hand, had never known struggle like hers. She imagined him in his skyscraper office, decisions weighing down on him but always cushioned by wealth and power. And yet, beneath the tailored suits and designer watches, Emily had glimpsed something raw, a loneliness she recognized in herself, the kind that whispered in the silence of night, the kind that made people crave connection even when they feared it. The next morning brought no relief. Nathaniel had insisted on seeing her again, and Emily's parents, though hesitant, had agreed to let him come. The tension in the apartment was palpable. Her mother hovered by the stove, stirring invisible pots, while her father pretended to read the newspaper, both pretending normalcy but failing. Emily felt like a tightrope walker, balancing between two worlds, afraid that the slightest misstep would shatter everything. Nathaniel arrived with the same quiet confidence he had shown before. But today there was an edge to him, a subtle intensity in the way he observed the cramped apartment. He noted the faded curtains, the worn carpet, the modest belongings, yet his gaze never lingered in judgment. Instead, he seemed to absorb the reality of her life, as if he were trying to understand it fully before making a move. "You've created something beautiful here," he said, finally breaking the silence. "It's not the wealth or the material things, it's the warmth. It's alive." His words made Emily's throat tighten. She had never thought of her small home as beautiful. To her, it was simply survival, yet he saw it differently. Her father cleared his throat. "Emily, what's this really about? Why would a man like you—" His voice faltered. He didn't finish the sentence, but Emily knew the sentiment well. A billionaire CEO had no business being involved with a poor cleaner. Nathaniel turned to him, unflinching. "I didn't come here for appearances or business. I came because I want to know her, because I want to understand her world, her struggles, her heart." His words struck Emily like a thunderbolt. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not her parents, not her co-workers, not anyone in her life. The afternoon stretched into evening, and slowly, the ice began to thaw. Her mother asked him questions, cautious but curious. Her father listened, skeptical yet attentive. Emily felt a flicker of hope, but it was fragile. She knew their acceptance could vanish in an instant, torn apart by whispers of social disparity, of judgment from the outside world. As Nathaniel prepared to leave, he turned to Emily. "I want you to know, Emily, this isn't just a fleeting interest. I can see us together, but I need you to trust me. Trust me with your world, your family, and your heart." Emily's pulse raced. Trust was something she had never given easily, yet something about him made it feel possible. She nodded, uncertain but willing, unaware of the storm that was about to hit. An unexpected revelation about her family, a secret she had never shared, and a choice that would challenge everything she thought she knew about love and loyalty. As he walked to his car, Emily watched him leave, a mix of fear and longing twisting in her chest. She didn't yet know that the coming days would test her in ways she had never imagined, that falling into the arms of a billionaire CEO was only the beginning, and that the world they were about to navigate together would be far more treacherous than any floor she had ever scrubbed. And in the silence of her apartment, as the city lights flickered outside, a question echoed in Emily's mind. Could love survive when the truth of family privilege and past betrayals surfaced, and would her heart be strong enough to withstand it? The morning sunlight poured through the thin curtains, but Emily felt no warmth. The tension from Nathaniel's visit lingered like a shadow over the apartment. Her parents had retreated to their routines, yet the air was thick with unspoken questions, the kind that gnawed at her confidence and made her doubt her own choices. She had invited Nathaniel into her life, into her parents' home, and now she faced the reality that love and family acceptance were not always aligned. As she walked to her job at the corporate building, the echo of her footsteps against the marble floors felt heavier than usual. She remembered the day she had first started cleaning here, nervous and eager to prove herself, her younger self trembling with both fear and determination. She had worked every day without complaint, unnoticed by everyone until Nathaniel had seen her. And seeing her had changed everything. Inside the lobby, she caught a glimpse of him through the glass doors, his posture commanding, yet there was something different in his expression. He looked uneasy, as if the weight of their worlds pressing together was finally catching up with him. Emily's heart skipped a beat, but she told herself to stay calm. She didn't know if she was ready for the storm that was brewing. By midday, the storm arrived in the form of a phone call. Her mother's voice trembled on the line. Emily, there's something you need to know about your father's past. Something he never told you. Emily's stomach twisted. What is it, Mom? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He was involved in something illegal years ago. Before you were born, her mother admitted, tears threatening to spill. I never wanted you to know. I thought it was behind us, but it's connected to Nathaniel. Emily's heart stopped. Her father's past? Connected to Nathaniel? She had no words, only a rising tide of fear and confusion. Questions flooded her mind. Was Nathaniel aware? Did he see her family's history as a stain, a reason to step away? Would this destroy everything before it even had a chance? When Nathaniel arrived that evening, Emily could barely meet his gaze. She led him to the couch, her hands trembling. There's something you need to know, she said, her voice breaking. Nathaniel's face softened, concern etched in the sharp lines of his features. Whatever it is, Emily, I need you to tell me. And then Emily's mother, who had quietly followed, revealed the truth. Years ago, Emily's father had been involved in a corporate scandal, a deal gone wrong, money lost, people hurt. Nathaniel's company had suffered indirectly from it, though he had never known her father personally. The revelation hung in the air, thick and suffocating, a secret long buried now exposed. Nathaniel sat in silence, absorbing the information. Emily's heart raced, imagining the worst, that he would walk away, that the man who had captured her heart would leave because of her father's past. But instead he reached out, taking her hands in his. Emily, your father's past does not define you. It does not define what we could have. I see you, and I see your heart. Tears streamed down Emily's face. The warmth of his words clashed with the cold dread that had settled in her chest. Could love really survive when secrets threatened to pull them apart? Could trust bridge the gap between scandal and forgiveness, between poverty and privilege? Over the next few days, Nathaniel proved that he was more than just a man of wealth. He was patient, kind, and unwavering, helping her navigate her fears and slowly easing her parents' skepticism. Her father remained quiet, reluctant to show approval, but Emily saw glimpses of respect in his eyes. Her mother softened as well, watching Nathaniel interact with her daughter in ways that were gentle, protective, and deeply sincere. Yet even as hope began to bloom, Emily couldn't shake a nagging thought. Nathaniel had secrets too, glimpses of moments when his eyes darkened, when his jaw tightened, when he stared out the window at the skyline as if carrying a weight too heavy to share. She had fallen into his arms, yes, but did she really know the man behind the billionaire mask? That night, as the city lights flickered below, Emily reflected on everything that had happened. Falling into the arms of a billionaire CEO had seemed like a fantasy, a dream beyond her reach. But the reality was far more complex, far more dangerous, and far more emotional than she had imagined. Could love survive when the past refused to stay buried? Could hearts endure when secrets from both their worlds collided? And most importantly, Could Emily trust Nathaniel fully, when the man she had fallen for might be hiding a truth that could break them both? The questions lingered, unanswered as Emily closed her eyes, unsure if the future she dreamed of was within reach, or if it would shatter like fragile glass in the light of revelation. The air in Emily's apartment felt suffocating that morning. Her parents were restless, pacing back and forth, while Emily sat at the small kitchen table, fingers wrapped tightly around a chipped mug. Nathaniel had insisted on joining her for breakfast, but the tension between the two worlds, her humble beginnings and his polished wealth, was palpable. Every glance, every word carried the weight of unspoken fears and expectations. Emily's father finally broke the silence. "Emily, you're making a mistake," he said, his voice trembling with a mix of anger and worry. "You don't know this man. You barely know him. And with his life, his world, it's nothing like ours. It'll hurt you in ways you can't imagine." Nathaniel's jaw tightened, but his voice was calm, deliberate. "I understand your concerns. I'm not asking for blind trust, but I am asking for the chance to show Emily and you that my intentions are true." Her mother's eyes glistened with tears. "Emily, we raised you to be careful, to survive. Love is dangerous. And this," she gestured toward Nathaniel, "this could destroy everything you've worked for." Emily's chest tightened. She felt torn in two. Between the world she had always known, where survival meant caution, and the world Nathaniel represented, where love promised something dangerous and beautiful at the same time. I trust him," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I know it's scary, but I trust him." Her father slammed his hand on the table, startling everyone. "Trust? Emily, do you understand the consequences? His world is ruthless. One wrong step, one secret. It could ruin your life." Nathaniel leaned forward, meeting her father's gaze steadily. "I am aware of the risks, but I am willing to face them for Emily. And I promise you, I will never hurt her." His words carried weight, sincerity, and the unshakable conviction of a man used to commanding boardrooms but now laying his soul bare in a small, humble kitchen. Emily's mother finally spoke, her voice soft but firm. "We'll see, Nathaniel. We'll see if your words hold true. Actions speak louder than promises." Just as the tension seemed to reach a breaking point, a sudden knock on the door shattered the fragile calm. Emily opened it to find a man in a sharp suit, holding an envelope that looked official and urgent. He handed it to Nathaniel without a word, then turned and left as silently as he had arrived. Nathaniel opened the envelope and scanned the contents. His eyes widened slightly, and for the first time Emily saw genuine fear in his expression. He looked up, meeting her gaze with a mixture of vulnerability and determination. "Emily, there's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice low. "A part of my past. A secret I've kept hidden. It's connected to your father's past, and it could change everything." Emily felt her stomach drop. She had known Nathaniel had secrets, but she hadn't expected this. Her heart pounded, fear and anticipation colliding in a way that made her chest ache. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Nathaniel took a deep breath. "Years ago, my company suffered a major financial betrayal. Someone close to me leaked sensitive information, causing millions in losses. I investigated, and the trail led to your father. I didn't know him then, not personally. I only knew the facts, and I chose to let it go. But now, the connection is clear, and it's put both of us in a precarious position." Emily's mind reeled. The man she had trusted, the man she had fallen into, was now revealing a tie between her father and a corporate scandal, one that could ruin them both. Fear, anger, and disbelief collided in her chest. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she demanded, tears brimming. How could this happen? Nathaniel reached for her hand, but she pulled back. "I didn't want to hurt you unnecessarily. I wanted to protect you, to give us a chance before the truth complicated everything." His voice trembled slightly, a rare crack in his otherwise controlled demeanor. Her parents exchanged glances, the weight of past mistakes now pressing down on them all. Emily realized that love alone might not be enough to overcome the tangled web of secrets, mistakes, and betrayals that now defined their lives. And yet, amid the chaos, she felt a flicker of resolve. She had fallen into the arms of a billionaire CEO, yes, but she had also found courage, resilience, and a love that refused to be denied. Emily took a deep breath, her decision crystallizing in the silence. "We face this together," she said, her voice firm, her eyes locked on Nathaniel's. "No matter what, we face it together." Nathaniel's relief was palpable, a subtle smile breaking through the tension. "Together," he echoed, squeezing her hand gently. As the day faded into evening, the city outside glittered like a sea of possibilities. Emily knew that challenges lay ahead, that the world would test them in ways they couldn't yet imagine. But for the first time, she felt a profound sense of hope. Falling into the arms of a billionaire CEO had been a leap into the unknown, but it was also the beginning of something powerful, something worth fighting for. And in the quiet of the apartment, amidst whispers of the past and shadows of secrets, Emily realized the truth. Love was not easy. Love was not safe, but love was worth every risk. The ballroom of the corporate gala glittered with crystal chandeliers and gold-trimmed tables, but Emily felt detached from the grandeur. She had dressed in a modest gown Nathaniel had helped her choose, something elegant yet simple, a reflection of who she was, between worlds, yet firmly herself. Tonight she would face the ultimate test, revealing Nathaniel to her family fully, and confronting the truth of the intertwined past that had shadowed them all. Her parents had hesitated to attend, unsure whether their hearts could withstand the collision of wealth, power, and secrets. Her father, usually stoic, had been uncharacteristically silent, while her mother held Emily's hand like a lifeline. Emily's stomach twisted with a mixture of fear, anticipation, and determination. She had fallen into the arms of a billionaire CEO, yes, but tonight, she would see if love could survive not just distance and difference, but betrayal, pride, and the judgments of the world. Nathaniel arrived, as always commanding attention without effort. His tailored suit was immaculate, his presence magnetic, yet there was a softness in his eyes reserved only for her. Emily felt a pang of nervous excitement. This was the moment when private love met public scrutiny. As they entered the ballroom, whispers followed. Guests who had never noticed her before now stared at the woman by Nathaniel's side. The poor cleaner turned mysterious companion to one of the city's most powerful men. Emily held her head high, refusing to shrink under the weight of judgment. She had earned her place not through wealth but through courage, integrity, and the love she shared with Nathaniel. Her father stepped forward, clearing his throat. "Emily." "Nathaniel," he said, his voice steady despite the tremor beneath. "We need to talk." Emily's pulse quickened. This was the moment of reckoning, the confrontation that could destroy everything or finally seal it. Nathaniel nodded respectfully. "Of course," he said, his voice calm but unwavering. They moved to a quiet corner. Emily's father spoke first. "Years ago I made mistakes, serious mistakes, and they affected your company indirectly. We never meant for this to happen, but it did, and now I see the consequences reaching you." His eyes met Nathaniel's, filled with both guilt and plea for understanding. Nathaniel inhaled deeply. "I've known for some time about the connection. I could have used it to my advantage. I could have turned away. But I didn't, because Emily, because love, because the person in front of me matters more than the past. I've seen her strength, her heart, and I will not let history dictate our future." Her father's eyes softened, the rigid lines of distrust easing. Her mother's hand found Emily's, squeezing it tightly, as if silently giving her permission to follow her heart. Then, Nathaniel revealed the twist Emily had not anticipated. "There's one more thing," he said, his voice low, heavy with emotion. "The corporate betrayal that touched my company years ago. It wasn't entirely your father's fault. Someone else orchestrated it, manipulating circumstances to frame him. I only discovered the truth recently, and it changes everything." Emily's heart skipped. Relief, disbelief, and awe flooded her at once. The weight that had hung over their heads, the shadow of scandal, fear, and social difference was lifted. And yet the emotional impact was immense. Her father's mistakes had not been the end of their story. Nathaniel had forgiven, understood, and embraced the truth, cementing the bond between them all. The gala continued around them, glittering and luxurious, but Emily felt a serenity she had never known. She looked at Nathaniel, at her parents, and realized that love, true love, was not about wealth, social status, or perfection. It was about courage, trust, forgiveness, and resilience. Nathaniel took her hand. pulling her close and whispered, "We've been tested, Emily, but together we can face anything. I fell for you in the simplest, purest way, and nothing will change that." Tears streamed down her face as she embraced him, feeling the warmth of a love that had survived scandal, judgment, and fear. Emily's parents watched, their hearts softened, pride mingling with relief. In that moment, past mistakes, secrets, and worlds collided, but instead of breaking them, it had forged something stronger than any wealth or privilege could create. As the night wore on, Emily understood the truth. Falling into the arms of a billionaire CEO had been a leap into the unknown. Yes, but it had also led her to discover her own strength, her capacity for forgiveness, and a love that transcended every boundary. The city lights sparkled outside, reflecting the triumph of hearts reunited and truths revealed. And Emily knew as she looked at Nathaniel and felt his hand in hers, that some falls, no matter how frightening, were meant to carry you into a life you could never have imagined.